going down, fuck the world, I'm a thug. Tell him, can't nothing stop me but a slug.
Fred, you want to talk a little boxing?
Yeah, okay. So, here it is, boys. I was just asking y'all. So, you were going into it, Eddie. Did you guys watch the Lomachenko Ridigow? How the fuck you say his name, Money?
Rigondeaux.
I definitely can't say it that good.
Oh, fuck.
That little Cuban. Him. Did y'all watch that fight?
Jesse, see it?
I watched highlights of it, enough to get an idea, and really the controversy behind all that. I know we'll get into it, but it seemed pretty obvious what was going on there.
Yeah, and so listen, I don't even want to get into the controversy. I don't want to talk about his hand, whether it was broken, which we know it wasn't now for the record, but I don't, whatever. That's not important because this is an MMA show. Now, we're starting the conversation off with a boxing topic, but it does still relate to MMA. Where the fuck did I see that? I think it was Dana White did that scrum a week or two ago or some shit like that. And he said that at the beginning of the year, he has got a shitload of boxing guys coming in, and he has set aside, I think he said 2 to 4 weeks. Now, I don't know, like, if you guys follow the sport like that, but Dana White don't set 2 to 4 weeks aside for nothing or nobody. That is a huge block of time for him, which makes me think that he's taking this very seriously. Add that in with him wearing the Zuffa boxing t-shirt during the whole Conor Floyd thing. I don't think that was on accident. I think that Dana White, and plus, look, man, the UFC got bought by WME. We all know that Dana White has a little less of a say of what's going on in the company now. I think he's looking for another baby to breed and to make bigger. Hence all these meetings with all these cats in boxing. Now, I don't know how plausible it is for him to pull this off, but my idea, watching the Lomachenko fight this weekend, watching even the Floyd Conor fight, which that's not really a good example. We'll take that one way. But the Triple G Canelo fight, Anthony Joshua and Klitschko, even watching Deontay Wilder destroy that one fat boy here recently. Boxing has been very fucking entertaining for me. So the idea of maybe Dana White being able to get possibly some of these big talents in the same organization, Blake, me and you were DMing about this. Get rid of some of the weight classes, take the MMA platform and apply it to modern day boxing. What I realized watching some of these boxing matches this year, it's not boxing that I don't like. And it's not that they don't have stars. Triple G is amazing. Lomachenko is amazing. Fuck, I know people don't like him like that, but I fuck with Deontay Wilder. I love the way he fights. I mean, if you don't think he's exciting, you're a fucking jerk. So, okay, let me throw it to you now, Blake. I have this magical idea of Dana, sneaking away and signing some guys and creating Zuffa boxing with maybe like 9 divisions and creating this big happy boxing realm. Now I realize everybody's got contracts and shit. So how possible is that? How possible is it that guys like Lomachenko start saying, okay, let me fight out my contract and see what Zuffa's doing?
That's really interesting, man, because in 2 years, that could be a fucking possibility, right? Like, the funny thing is, him doing this, him taking time, the only time he's taking away is fucking to talk to Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's going to come back. That's the only time he takes away. Does Conor need something? No. Okay, UFC needs me over here. Does Ronda need something? No. Okay, UFC needs me over here. I got to go be the savior. You know what I'm saying? Yep. The plausible thing, though, is him bringing in, Eddie Hearns, who's Anthony Joshua's promoter, him bringing in, Bob Arum, Dan Goosen, all these promoters who, again, have separately, they all have the action figures. They all have the stars, right? The thing I'm interested in is Dana bringing everybody together and saying, listen, what if we fight for a Zuffa boxing belt? What if we get your guy and your guy? It's all competing. We're all doing this. We fight for a Zuffa boxing belt. What ends up happening is, if he does something like this, and I know this is kind of out of the realm, but he needs to be the bridge. I think what I'm getting at, he needs to be the bridge now for stars to know what he's capable of. Because if I'm fucking Lomachenko, listen, Top Rank's treating me very fucking nice right now. Bob Aram's lining up my pockets real quick. I can take an airplane back to, fucking Russia. I could take a fucking boat back to, my yacht. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I've got money.
But can Bob Arum consistently provide him with high-level competition that's going to make us want to watch him fight? Like, I'll keep it funky. I didn't know who the little Cuban was, but because everybody hyped him up and was like, "This is a fight you need to watch," all of a sudden I got intrigued. Can they keep doing that with him if Bob Arum don't want to co-promote with these other boxers or boxer promotions rather?
And that's what Dana White needs to do. He needs to bridge everybody together. All separately, these motherfuckers don't want to work with each other. They, Bob Arum barely want to work with Floyd Mayweather to put the Manny Pacquiao fight together. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's the problem. Fucking forever. That's the fascinating thing is all these promoters separately have individuals who can compete. Like Gervonta Davis, he's a 130 fighter. I don't know if he's ready for Lomachenko, but here's the thing. He's powerful enough to knock that motherfucker out, and he's fast enough to knock the motherfucker out. He's a Mayweather Promotions fighter. When's the next time we're going to see Mayweather and Top Rank work together? I don't fucking know. But that's a fight at 130. If you want to move up, I believe it's Golden Boy. They got Mikey Garcia. And he's 140. He moved up to 140. He can move back down to 135, but then we need to see Lomachenko go to 135. I think what really people are not into is the politics of boxing. They're not into it. Like, they don't know the fucking who all the 18 weight class champions are, right? Like, there's exactly one weight class, there's 18 belts.
Right. That's why I don't like boxing.
Your belt, This is why, like a Zuffa boxing, if they say, listen, you want the Zuffa boxing belt, they need to build that belt up and make it the pinnacle thing to have. Like, yeah, you got the WBO belt, you bought that shit, you bought your opponents. Yeah, you got the WBA belt, you just fucking fought some bum in fucking Canada. Who gives a fuck? The belt you want, some fucking Zuffa belt. You need to come over here. Let's set the shit up. They could be the platform for this, maybe not necessarily a promoter. Or at least start that way. And I think that would be a really smart idea. So whatever he's doing, whatever he's cooking, it's definitely something smart. I don't know what it is though, unfortunately.
What do you think,
Eddie? Can I interject here?
Let's hear it, Jesus. Come on, be the negatory response we know you're gonna be.
No, you know what? I like what you guys are saying, but I think the problem that we also have is exactly what you guys are pointing out, is that there's too many belts and too many people to keep track of. I think what Zuffa boxing should be, and I think it would be a smart idea for them, is like Blake is saying, a unifier. So under Zuffa boxing, you have everybody come together and make these great, big time promotional fights, like Conor versus Mayweather, or Manny Pacquiao versus Mayweather, or just some of these epic fights in boxing that we want to see, that you won't get to see somewhere else. And I think if it's under like a banner of Zuffa boxing, and it basically becomes a place where you go to watch these epic fights, and it's not about a championship, it's just watching these great boxing guys come together and fight just to see who is the best. A better avenue than starting a whole new promotion and having new belts and weight classes and all this stuff. I think that's a better idea for what Zuffa boxing could be. Because think about it that way. Instead of, creating a whole new company with belts and all that, you just bring everybody under one umbrella to fight these big fights, these big money fights, and everybody makes a lot of money.
Fuck that. I say we go old school gangster style, goddammit. If I'm DW, I get all those sissies in the room and I say, check it out, boys. We're starting Zuffa boxing. We're making motherfucking 9 weight classes just like the UFC. And when your fucking boxers get done, they're signing with us. We're going to fucking listen. Need I fucking remind you guys, the UFC has the backing of Hollywood now. They got WME money. If they can fucking con silly ass Ari fucking whatever the fuck into buying into this, they pretty much got unlimited pockets. You know what I'm saying? Like, they could for real make a hard push at these guys, and everybody's only binded by their contract. I mean, this isn't illegal. If they can convince Lomachenko, like, what's he got? 4 or 5 fights? That's a long time, right? But get them done. Get them out. You're just going to smash these cans. When you get done with that, you come over here and we'll be signing talent the whole time, getting ready to revolutionize boxing, man.
See, the thing with that is that's what PBC tries to do, right? Like PBC, Al Heyman put all this money behind all these boxers, and he did great, right? He's like pumping, like, he got all these investors in dollars, I think it was, and to put on all these amazing fights with all these amazing cats. And You know, we got to see like Keith Thurman in there to sort of come up the ranks, and fucking Amir Khan fight Chris Algieri. Like, we got to see some stars versus stars type thing. I don't think that they need to have another PBC. The belts, I think, are signed to the fighters. They're like, okay, but what's in it for the fighter? Yeah, they get an amazing fight. What if they lose though? Like, fuck, like they're putting a lot on the line, like to take the L. Taking an L in boxing is not like taking an L in MMA.
Massive. If you lose that O on your record as a boxer, you're they think you're done. They think you need to retire. Yeah. It's fucking insane.
But see, I think
40 fights. You know what I'm saying?
We could change that though, boys. We could change that with Zuffa boxing.
No, let's not be silly. Like, we can add new audience members. I don't know if we can change the system of how the everything has been, and how people are still seeing, how the critics, how trainers, how the whole boxing world is still going to see what's going on, right? If you're going to do it, you got to do it big. You got to go fucking balls deep. Some sort of belt has to be on the line, but it has to be the most important. It's got to be the diamond, the pinnacle, the thing. Like, it's got to be what WBO is trying to be, but can't, because you can't get all these fucking people in the same room to fight each other. It's got to be that. It's got to be special.
But hold on though, like, boxing wasn't always like this, right? Ali lost, Frazier lost, Foreman lost. God damn it! Until fucking silly ass Floyd came around, crushing all of his tomato cans. I mean, like, it's okay to lose in boxing if you lose to somebody who's great. Like, is anybody really gonna? I guess the Triple G Canelo fight ended in a draw, didn't it?
Right.
I just have Triple G winning in my mind. I was gonna say, does anybody really look down on Canelo for losing that fight? I don't. I mean, I think he lost that motherfucker, but
you're absolutely right. Like, if you take an L, they'll still, like, if the promotion's behind you, the machine's behind you, it'll still build you up. Think Oscar De La Hoya, Manny Pacquiao, Canelo Alvarez. Like, there's numerous people to name, right? Like, you can still get behind it. But the fact is, still something has to be there besides it being an amazing fight. Like, that might not be enough to get these fighters in there. They might be like, shit, like, it's still yo, coach, man, that's still a scary fight, bro. Like,
I agree.
Money's right, but
I definitely agree with you guys, but I agree with Fred. Like, if you want to break into boxing at this point, you've got to revolutionize what they're doing over there in boxing. And there's not many ways to do it. I think the other problem that you're looking at is, I get what you guys are saying, that, especially you, Fred, that if you take a loss in boxing, it hurts you a lot, but we can change that. But it's also, is Dana White the guy to do that? Because we see how he treats his fighters in the UFC currently, where somebody doesn't take a fight or does a boring win or takes a loss, and he's the first one to, jump off the hype train and start, sending them off to Bellator or whatever, Like, do we really think that this guy is going to be able to be that promoter that can sell a guy that has 2 losses or 3 losses, to top contenders? Is he the guy that can do that? That's the other question you have to.
Sometimes you're lucky this isn't Survivor, because we'd vote you off the island. Listen, DW plays favorites. Fucking Matt Brown doesn't get that treatment.
That's true.
I mean, there's a lot of people that Dana White actually has a really good relationship with, though, that he bends the rules for and he looks out for. He's just a bit of a cunt in that way. He gets cunty. But I wouldn't say that he just, if you lose, he immediately throws you under the bus. Like, it's all relative.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know.
That's interesting.
Here's the thing: the changing box is gonna be a bitch, because it's so old. It's been around for a long time, and it's already been done before, right? So, like, MMA, the reason the UFC is so big, no one had done MMA the way the UFC did, right? So, I mean, that was a lot easier. So, what up?
You know what, though, Eddie? You know what, though? It's the time to do it, because think of all the stuff that's disrupting a lot of old businesses, like taxis. You've got Uber, hotels. Now you've got, Airbnb and stuff like that. There's so many ways to revolutionize something that's been old and outdated. You just got to find the right niche. And you guys are onto something, but I think saying you have to really make it something that is number one, that is so epically good. You have to tune in. You have to be a part of this, and you have to be the champ.
So here's my point with this then, and we'll try to wrap this up quick because we know that Blake doesn't have a whole lot more time left. I think the biggest point with this, listen, what separates the UFC from Bellator at the end of the day? Talent. Mm-hmm. Okay. At the end of the day, the UFC has John Jones. The UFC has TJ Dillashaw. The UFC has Dominic Cruz, DC. They got those guys. If somehow Zuffa Boxing can get Triple G, not saying they can, but if they can get Deontay Wilder, if they can get Anthony Joshua, listen, I don't know shit about boxing. I know who the heavyweight champion is right now, right? I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there, but right now we all know it's that big Brit named Anthony Joshua, right? Like he's the guy. If Zuffa Boxing signs him, that immediately solidifies their heavyweight division. Because who the fuck else is there in heavyweight boxing anyways? You get Deontay Wilder and about 4 more guys, you got the heavyweight division. Then you just start breeding prospects. So I feel like if they get like 5 guys, if they get Lomachenko, Triple G, Anthony Joshua, not saying they can, but if they did, hell, even Manny Pacquiao's old ass, bring him in the fold. If they could do that, I feel like that would be like immediately everybody, even the boxing pundits would kind of be like, whoa, they got who? Anthony Joshua is a Zuffa boxing champion now? What the fuck? That immediately gives that belt all the credibility it needs.
That's absolutely 100%. And like, yeah, I mean, some of these divisions are just stacked, like top stacked, right? Like heavyweight, for instance, like there's just like 5 guys. That's it. They just need to get in the room and fucking fight each other. I like it, Fred. I like what's going on in your mind, man. I can tell you've been putting some thought behind this. Put a little salt and pepper, let it marinate. I like it, man.
Yeah, well, we was DMing about it, and I was kind of, like I said, man, I've noticed that I've been really intrigued by some boxing matches this year that really doesn't usually happen for me. And Lomachenko he is that good. Watching him fight, it was like, wow, this is what even like I said, I hate to keep riding his dick, but Deontay Wilder, watching that dude fight reminds me of old school heavyweight fights. Of course, he's sloppy. He looks like, I mean, I'm sure a lot of boxing pundits would say that Anthony Joshua beat the shit out of him because he's so sloppy, but I love his ferocity, the fucking masks, the whole 9. It's very entertaining, man.
I want to add to your point. I don't know. So I'll end my time with y'all like this. I don't know what's going to happen with Dana White. I don't know what platform. But imagine this. Imagine they use not just the talent pool from boxing and what have you, like to make into a promotion, but they could also, like if they sign somebody, like for instance, Vasily Lomachenko, we'll use him. They sign him for whatever deal, but they also now they can make a TV show, have so-and-so fly out to so-and-so and you see him training and he's showing, who the fuck doesn't have good hands at fucking 135, showing them how to get better hands, right? Showing them some movement and shit. Like that'd be some shit I'd be interested in rather than watching the 89th season of fucking Tough. Yeah. I don't want to see that shit no more. You know what I'm saying? I want to see some new shit. And that could be these guys to bring them up, be like, listen, you want to be on TV more? You want people to know you more? You ever been on TV? You want to lay on this couch real quick? We can talk about this. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I think Blake just brought the new season of Tough.
No, listen, that's real. That's real shit.
No, but think about it though. You don't think that they would do that? Like they would just be like, hey, like we got a champion in boxing in our Zuffa Boxing, and we're gonna do a Tough season of boxers to figure out who the hell's gonna fight this guy. Like, I think we're just gonna see a rehash of a lot of the ideas that they've had already.
I don't give a fuck. I'd watch. And I tell you what, if they wanted to fly Lomachenko out to show DC how to box, I'm all over that.
I'm all over
that. Like watching Lomachenko like give DC and vice versa or something. Yeah. That would be cool as fuck, dude.
I'm telling you, you take the boxer, he just goes from city to city while he's in his off time, and he just shows all these people just techniques and shit, man. Like that's the that's the truth.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool, man.
Be a good show for sure, man.
I'm dropping the mic right there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me on, guys.
Hey, thanks for coming on, dude.
Biz out so a little early. No, appreciate it, man. And everybody just follow Loaded Joes MMA wherever your favorite podcast app is, and keep it Warriors, man. I appreciate you having me. I'm gonna stay tuned on the rest of the show. while I put my stepdaughter to sleep.
All right, man.
All right, brother. Thanks for joining
Thank
us,
you.
man.
Y'all welcome. Peace.
Later, buddy.
Later. So yeah, that was Blake from the Loaded Joes MMA. You can follow them on Twitter at Loaded Joes MMA. They're also on Instagram, iTunes, like I said, anywhere you follow, get your podcast, you can find their stuff. So that was really interesting, man. I didn't even think about that. And I wonder if Dana White's the guy to lead that. Like, I would love a Fertitta to be involved. I really would.
Listen. I said it in the beginning. Dana White does not put that amount of time aside for something that he does not have a lot of, thought invested in. You're talking 4 weeks for Dana White. When's the last time that dude didn't talk about MMA for 4 weeks?
He went on vacation. He went on vacation, and then John Jones hit a pregnant chick.
When he had his ear hole fucking removed or whatever, when he was going through that fucking weird thing, like one thing, love him or hate him, man, Dana White does not leave this sport alone. That dude's never far from something. I mean, he's always watching or some shit, man. He's like the fucking godfather of this. So for him to put that much time to the side, it's big.
It means something.
No, you're right, but I also think that you also have to look at what's going on. I mean, he's also a multi-millionaire right now, and he's no longer, like you have said, he's no longer basically that driving force of the UFC. So if he can find something or foster a new baby and really bring it up, I mean, what was one of the things that he said, when he first, that deal first went through? He found it hard to get up out of bed every morning because he knew he no longer had to work. He was set for, a couple lifetimes now after this whole, UFC sell and everything, right? So the only thing that's going to get him out of bed is to basically create something from new. But I don't know, guys. I think it's a different world. Even though he was a boxing promoter before and a manager, I don't know if he's still got that that magic of promoting a whole new company and building it from the ground. He might just lose interest really fast if it doesn't work out as fast as he wants it to, man. And I think that's the fear. Of just going all in and seeing what he can do with this. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe. I mean, you never know. But I definitely think that that's true. Look at the Fertittas, right? The rumor is that they're trying to get an NFL team. I think all these guys have been rich for a very long time. They need motivation. And yeah, Dana White, we all know that Dana loves boxing. He's said it a million times. He's a huge boxing fan. So this makes all the sense in the world. Now, whether he can do it or not, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I tell you what, there are a handful of boxers out there right now that I would much rather watch box than some guys compete in the UFC. And that's saying a lot because I'm an MMA guy at heart. I'm an MMA head. But, if Triple G's boxing or Lomachenko's boxing or Deontay Wilder's boxing, the UFC better be running a real card or I'm watching the boxing match, man.
Yeah.
Or how about this? Fred? What if we get to the point where Zuffa boxing becomes one of those things where they have an event, let's say at Madison Square Garden with, their top guys that they've acquired. And in Vegas, they have get to watch the UFC event, and then they live stream whatever boxing events happening over at Madison Square Garden. So on your pay-per-view, you get 2 big, awesome pay-per-view cards for the price of 1.
Listen,
you see what I'm saying? You could see how the UFC could still make their money here, and Dana White still kind of gets a motivation to wake up in the morning and make these deals and make this stuff happen.
Bro, can you imagine if they could actually figure this out? What event? Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it not Affliction that had 2 rings at one show? Some MMA event ran an event and they had a kickboxing ring and then they had an MMA cage. It was in the same. Was it Bellator?
Yeah.
Okay,
Bellator just recently.
Okay, listen, that was dog shit. Okay, because it was garbage train. But if the UFC did that right, and they ran, let's say they run an MMA card, right? Like a fight night type card with what we just watched, Brian Ortega and Cub Swanson, right?
Right.
Run an MMA card with that. Brian Ortega and Cub Swanson are and make the whole card MMA, because who gives a shit about the underlying boxers, right?
Yeah.
Make that an MMA card, and instead of Brian Ortega and Cub Swanson being the main event, let them be the co-main event to Anthony Joshua defending his heavyweight championship belt in the ring over there. Same venue, same night, same arena, but a real boxing match. You know what I'm saying? Triple G versus Canelo in the ring over there. Now, I know it's wishful thinking and people are going, that's way too much money, blah, blah, blah. But listen, imagine the money it would generate. How many people are ordering that pay-per-view?
And it's not necessarily that it's like wishful thinking necessarily, is that it's a long ways away.
Right. But it's possible. It's one fight, just one great boxing match as one awesome cherry on a combat sports card. One
MMA fight between Stephen Bonner and Frank and not Rich Franklin, Forrest Griffin.
Right.
That's what
right.
I think you have to do it right, though. I don't think you can do the Bellator model of having two rings. I think you'd have to do more of like the MMA goes off first, and then you switch the entire cage, put up the ring, make it the centerpiece. Because I think that was the problem with the whole Bellator thing, is where you have two things happening at once, and you can't really concentrate on one thing. And then at the arena, a lot of people were saying that they couldn't see what was happening if they were sitting on one side, into the cage that they had, or into the boxing ring, because one ring is covering the other side. So I mean, and you also lose all those people in the front row. Like, there's a lot of things that I think Zuffa could and UFC could do a lot better, but you got to do it right.
Yeah, look, no matter what happens, Dana White's gonna do it his way. If we know anything about this motherfucker, he doesn't give a shit how everyone else does it. He's gonna do it on his own.
Right. And at the end of the day, we're getting a little wild with all that. You could just do like promotions on the same night. You could tie them in on the same cable networks and shit like that. There's just a million things. If he gets this boxing thing up and running, it's like a side hustle. Like, they got MMA, but if he can get boxing up and running and get a few legit champions signed, they could start really making some noise, man. So I just wanted to discuss that. I thought it was a cool topic and something that we might actually see happen. Maybe.
Yeah, we might talk about this for real sometime soon. You never know.
Exactly. All right, so what the fuck's going on in the MMA world?
All right, real quick, shout out to everyone in the YouTube comments. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Dan from Oregon, UC is here. Priya Rose, Joy Tremendous, what up, dude? And dude, I love it. People show up for all this stuff. So a couple comments here early on. Joey says second show for Eddie today. Oh yeah, I did the heel show earlier today. Yeah. As far as like actual stuff here, not a lot left for boxing, but here's a good point. And Fred, you tell me this is what started your curiosity back up about boxing. UC says the only boxing fight I ever saw was Floyd versus McGregor.
Well, okay, yeah, well, so that's a major problem then, right? Like, listen, man, it's easy to bag on boxing now, and don't get me wrong, I'm still more of an MMA head. I still love the idea of open combat and the idea of submissions and being the actual baddest man on the planet. But if you are not familiar with boxing, it's just like this, man. If you ain't never really listened to rap music like that, or you ain't never listened to rock or metal, you have got to go back and get yourself acquainted with the roots. If you've never watched listen, if the only boxing match you've ever legit watched was Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather, then you've never saw boxing. Go back and watch a couple Mike Tyson fights, or a couple Muhammad Ali fights, or Joe Frazier fights. Fuck Floyd Mayweather, dog. Watch old school Manny Pacquiao fights. Watch Deontay Wilder now. Watch Triple G, Gennady Golovkin. Watch Lomachenko. Like, go find these boxers and look up some of their highlights even, and you'll see why. You know what I mean? Go watch the Rumble in the Jungle. Go watch young George Foreman. That motherfucker was a machine, and I'm quite sure that he wasn't actually on steroids. Go watch some boxing out there.
No, I was gonna say, go watch that one that Joe Rogan always talks about on his show. Arturo Gotti and somebody else, that one round, the epic one round.
Yeah, man. And Hearns Hagler was just crazy, insanity.
I gotta say, if you're an MMA fan and you've never seen boxing, that's almost like disrespectful. Like, like you're saying, Fred, you really have to look at like where boxing was, what all those guys did, the talent that it takes to be a top boxer. Because I think it was Luke Thomas that was talking about how transitioning from boxing to MMA, it's not easy. And for people to think that just because you're good at MMA, over to boxing and be dominant, it's not. I mean, it's a very, very particular set of skills that you have to hone and you have to be really good at, and you have to really know everything about boxing to really, really be good at it. And not many people are good at it. A lot of people try. I mean, you could walk down the street and find, your local boxing gym and a bunch of guys that are training for years and years and years. You'll never hear about them because it's not easy to do. So if you have the opportunity to go back and watch some of these boxing matches because you've never seen them, do it. And you're going to really get to enjoy the difference and the nuances of between MMA boxing and actual boxing. And you'll get to see a lot of the things that MMA fighters have liberties of doing that boxers don't get the liberty of doing. Some of the defense, some of the techniques, some of the, movements and stuff. There's just so many things, so many layers. So my advice to that person who was it that had never seen boxing, please go back and watch a lot, just some of those ones that Fred, rattled off, write them down, go on YouTube, give yourself a couple hours to go down the boxing rabbit hole. And trust me, you'll have an even bigger appreciation for MMA because of all that.
And listen, even if you're not a technique nerd, some of these fights are just dog fights. Hagler Hearns is insanity. God. I'm telling you, bro, some of these boxing matches, they just throw fucking heat at each other constantly. Like, if all you've seen is boxing, even if you've seen a few boxing matches, but all you've seen is like the last 5 or 6 years, you've got to watch some of those classic fights. Because I swear, some of them shits come up on my Facebook feed sometimes when I'm taking the kids to school in the morning, and I'll just kind of click on it and watch some of those old fights. And I'm like, God damn, boxers used to be fucking animals, man. I mean, they would just fucking bang the shit out of each other.
And shit, look, I mean, look, I mean, how do you put this? The classic example is the Tyson fights. Whenever you watch that, it wasn't that you were watching a fight. You want to see how long this motherfucker was going to last, right?
Right.
That's all you want to see. Like right now, it's how we're seeing.
Francis
Ngannou, Chris Cyborg, stuff like that.
Right.
So
yep.
How we used to see Ronda Rousey. So I mean, and to a degree, Conor McGregor. But regardless, it's I highly recommend it. I was a boxing before I started this. So
Conor's our Ali.
Yeah,
Ali's another one, man. I mean, there's a reason why they call him the greatest. He was a great, skilled boxer. But if you like Conor, god damn, go watch some old Ali interviews. I mean, he was so eloquent and badass and fucking just. I don't know if you've ever seen it when he was going back and forth with Joe Frazier. I think they were on the Tonight Show, which at this point would be the equivalency of going on like I don't know. I don't watch none of them shits, but like the David Letterman show or whatever, like the biggest like Tonight Show possible. Ali and Frazier are on there. They get to jawing back and forth. Ali pisses Frazier off so much that he dives on him. Yeah. They get into a full out scuffle, a full out brawl on live TV, man. Yep. I mean, Ali was something else for that time and generation. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You got to go check all that shit out, man.
Motherfuckers love it to be a soldier. Must maintain composure at ease, don't like the storm. There's no time for